Welcome, Train the Trainer participants. This overview will guide you through slides 31 through 63 of Day 2 training. My name is Dr. Hartwell, and I will share with you pro tips for Day 2 training to ensure you know what to do when it's your time to lead. Please have a printed copy of the Day 2 Evaluator training slides in front of you. As you watch the videos, take notes when pro tips are shared, capture any questions you'd like to ask during the Q&A, and remember, the pro tips I'll share during this video are in addition to those tips and speaker notes included on the NIET trainer slides. Let's start the overview of Day 2 Evaluator Training, slides 31 through 63. This section begins with participants watching Mr. Bell's lesson. The goal here is to encourage participants to script during the entire lesson and to script what the teacher and the students are doing across the beginning, middle, and end of the lesson. The lesson is 31 minutes long, so it's recommended that you stop the video after Mr. Bell finishes sharing the objective and the objective activity with the students. Ask your participants for any evidence they've captured until that point. If training virtually, you may provide a timestamp for participants and ask them to pause the video and review the evidence they've collected at this particular point in the lesson. Next, participants will write an upfront summary after they've watched the lesson. In the upfront summary, they will capture the big chunks of the lesson. This helps evaluators remember the flow of the lesson, and it helps them make sense of their notes when it's time to categorize. The goal of Day 2 is to get to Mr. Bell's lesson before lunch, if at all possible. When participants return from lunch, they will categorize the evidence from Mr. Bell's lesson. They should complete this activity in groups as assigned here. If delivering the training virtually, you could use breakout rooms to accommodate groups, or perhaps a conference call line to complete this activity. If in person, groups will chart their evidence on chart paper. After participants have categorized evidence for their assigned indicators, they are ready to complete the star plus delta activity. You should remember this one from your training. Here you will see what each graphic means. If training in person, groups should exchange chart paper where they categorize the evidence. The receiving group will label each piece of evidence on the chart paper with a star for student evidence, a plus sign for teacher evidence, and a triangle for general evidence. The goal here is to have more stars and plus signs than triangles. Groups will then return the chart paper to the original group. That group will then review the labels and then go back through their evidence, trying to strengthen each piece of general evidence into either a student piece of evidence or a teacher piece of evidence. Before groups begin their work, you should show slide 40, shown here, that contains evidence of each type. The next part of the training moves into the post-conference. The next set of slides provide a bit of a lesson plan to get an evaluator through the post-conference. Here are the steps an evaluator should go through. They are found on slides 47 through 49. This at-a-glance graphic of the steps an evaluator should go through during the post-conference are also found on workbook page 20. Slide 50 provides another graphic that assists evaluators in preparing for the post-conference. First, the teacher is asked to self-assess how the lesson went, and then the evaluator's questions will guide them to an indicator and finally a descriptor within the indicator. The tiered process ensures that the conversation flows smoothly when the evaluator is prepared for the post-conference. Also, remember, do not share ratings until the end of the post-conference if your district uses the average scoring approach. And share scores only during the consensus meeting if your district uses the consensus scoring approach. The next activity asks participants to select what they feel is the best area of reinforcement and refinement for Mr. Bell. They will select first and then debrief with a partner. Now it's time to check for understanding by watching the post-conference. Remember, this evaluator is very scripted in the way she progresses through the conference. Have participants either answer the questions on the next slide as they watch the post-conference. They can script the post-conference, then answer the questions on the next slide, or use the evaluator's post-conference script on workbook pages 41 through 43 and highlight when the evaluator begins to make the turn towards highlighting the area of selected reinforcement and refinement. At the end of Evaluator Training Day 2, you can use the parking lot questions captured here or develop others on your own. The goal at the end of Day 2 is to at least get through Mr. Bell's post-conference. This is the end of Overview Day 2 Evaluator Training Slides 31 through 63.